all of the answers we have are inside of us. All of the things we need are inside of us. We just haven't tapped into them, and we just haven't looked close enough at them and asked ourselves those questions.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wellness Dojo Podcast, where we bring real solutions to real health and wellness problems. Today, we have Jamie Conroy, the co-founder of the Orenda Society, an organization dedicated to empowering and supporting our youth. Jamie is a fantastic human being, and we really enjoyed having her on the show. Let's get into it. Awesome.
That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
Thanks.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us on the Wellness Dojo Podcast. We have a very special guest today joining us. We have Jamie with the Orenda Society, and we're going to talk all about all the great stuff that the Orenda Society does, especially in the realm of youth and really directing them and helping them find themselves, find their voice, and find their path and direction. So I'm Dr. Riley. This is Kyle Craik, my co-host, as always. But Jamie, how you doing?
Good. I'm happy to be here.
Good. Yeah, we're really happy to have you today, too. How are you doing, Kyle?
I'm doing really good. Yeah. Thanks for coming. I'm excited. We've been talking about it for a little while, and having you on the show finally, it's a very exciting thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Before we get into asking you too much about like what the Orenda Society is and that type of thing, when we were talking before, you had mentioned, you're better when you don't prepare, right? So we thought we'd maybe throw something at you off the top and get you warmed up a little bit. What do you think about that?
Okay, let's do it.
Do you want to kick things off? We're going to play a little overrated, underrated. So we're going to just say something, and you have to tell us if it's overrated or if it's underrated. Is that fair?
Okay, got it.
Okay.
You can also pass if you're like, I don't know, and then we'll take it.
Yeah, if you have to.
Yeah. All right. So the first one I wanted to do, and you can chime in on this too.
Yeah.
The overrated, underrated meditation apps, like the apps that they have on the phone, like Mindspace and things like that.
Oh gosh, can you be on the fence?
Sure. Yeah, you can be like, it's right in the middle.
It is, because
perfect.
They're so accessible and so important. And if it's going to get somebody to start meditating and to find a quiet spot, then do it. But then overrated because you can do it on your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good to get the foot in the door for people if they want to start meditating. But then when it comes down to it, I think it goes a little too far in almost teaching people that meditation is someone talking to you. Yeah. Meditation is someone bringing you through a field and something, kind of imagery and things like that, when it's really not. It's just about being present with your own self and mind. So, yeah, okay, so we got a little bit of a combo there. Yeah. What do you think?
It's a good starting point, right?
Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like it. All right, I'm gonna go a little bit off the wellness here, but stop, drop, and roll. Overrated or underrated?
Oh gosh, these are hard ones. Underrated.
Underrated?
Yeah.
Okay.
We got to do more of it.
Yeah.
In this world.
Exactly.
That's true. Oh, you're
When
getting
in
philosophical on that one.
Yeah. I haven't done it for a long time, and maybe that's what's missing.
Stop, dropping, and rolling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, you're next, Dr. Ellie. What do you got?
Let's go with essential oil diffusers.
Overrated.
Okay. Yeah.
Any reason why?
I think it's funny that you say that, because just yesterday we had a diffuser going, and I was like, what stinks? And everyone's like, it's a diffuser. I'm like, turn it off. So I don't know. I like incense, like straight up incense and a good candle.
Yeah.
Essential oils on the body, but so much for blending them in a diffuser. Not really my jam.
Yeah. It's funny. Every now and then my wife will set up my massage room for me if I have a client, and I'm like running behind. I'll text her. I'll be like, hey, I have a client coming. Can you set up the massage room? Every time she sets it up with the diffuser. And I like walk in and I'm like, oh, the diffuser's on. Like, it's like kind of like smoke, like almost like cloudy in the room and stuff. I'm just like, yeah, this isn't my jam either.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. Just really simple. Cardio. Overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Underrated. Why?
well, especially walking, it's such an underrated activity, and it's like an essential activity, and it's something that most of us have accessibility to, and we don't do it, and we have an excuse of why we can't get cardio in or why we can't be active. And a simple walk, we know that when we go for like a quick sprint or anything that gets our body moving, it helps us change our emotional intelligence pretty fast. So for me, sprinting has been something, even if it's just like 2 quick sprints, it's been something that gets me out of my funk pretty fast.
Yeah.
Nice.
What do you think about that?
I like the idea of going to a field and doing some sprints. I think it's very therapeutic.
Yeah.
I think it gets a lot out.
Yeah.
I surprisingly would also say underrated, and my reason being also what you said, but also like, what if you have to run for your life? Like I always think that too. I'm like, what if you have to run for your life? You're just like strong only, and you don't have any cardio. You're gonna get caught so fast by that bear, right?
When everybody hates running. Not everybody. Yeah. I got to stop saying everybody, but I love running. And
normal people. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I actually love it. And so many people are like, I hate it. And I'm like, you don't hate running. You just hate being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
That's absolutely it.
Yeah.
All right, one more each. Dr. Ellie?
Oh, one more. Okay. Let's go with gluten-free, dairy-free pizza.
Oh, gosh. It's overrated. But there's this amazing place, and I'm not plugging it, but in Okotoks, there's this amazing place called Fast and Fresh.
Yeah.
And if you get there, nobody knows. It's dairy-free, gluten-free. It's the best pizza, and you can make it at home with your kids.
Nice.
Or with yourself. And it's the best pizza ever.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But otherwise, overrated.
Okay. Yeah. I agree. Okay, the last one, I think this is going to be easy, at least it is for me. Waffle cones.
Oh, underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's the right answer.
Okay, I'm like looking at
Correct.
I'm trying to make sure, is that the right answer?
Yes, correct.
Making eye contact. Is that right?
Oh, man.
I think so. I mean, I recently had ice cream and at a place that didn't offer a waffle cone, and I was so disappointed. Like, it took the whole experience down like 3 notches at least. It's just like, where's my waffle cone?
Yeah.
Is this going to turn into a therapy session about waffle cones?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, we might have to go. Maybe next
Sorry,
episode.
Jamie, you gotta help out here.
Yeah, I'm scarred for life. Yeah. No, that is our overrated, underrated. Thanks for participating.
Yeah,
Hopefully it was a
fun.
fun little icebreaker. But let's get into what this episode is really about, which is yourself and the Orenda Society. So can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, about yourself, and then how you came to create the Orenda Society?
A little bit about myself, hey. I am a super passionate and driven human. I love connection. Often people ask me what I do for a living, and I said, I don't know. My job is connection, and that's something that has fueled my passion over the last few years. When I was younger, I definitely thought I was going to be a teacher. I went to school to be a teacher and started teaching for a few years, and I realized pretty fast that although that role is very important, I wanted more. And in the school setting, you can't really have more, and it's very challenging based on a lot of policies and procedures that you must follow. And I wanted to develop something and do something different. So I worked in group homes for quite a few years, and I noticed that overprivileged, underprivileged, privileged, every single youth was going through something that they were unable to pinpoint, or they were unable to understand. So from there, well, I guess I should backtrack. When I came out of working in the school system, I needed to do a lot of healing for myself. I realized that I was an empath, and I took on everybody's stuff, and I would carry that a lot with me. So I started dabbling into going to therapy, and then I went away to Costa Rica for just over a month and did an extensive yoga program, and also got into massage therapy because I thought I wanted to be like a healer, still on the empath route of taking everyone's stuff on, but in a different realm. I started teaching yoga quite extensively, and I remember one day being in a yoga class. It was a hot yoga class teaching, and I loved it. It was a great stepping stone for me. But I remember almost watching myself and being like, hey, like, this isn't what I want to do. I never discovered yoga, and yoga didn't serve me in a fitness realm. That's an amazing place to be if that's where you're going for yoga. But for me, that wasn't why I started it. It was really just to hear my own breath and maybe gain a little bit more flexibility. But so I could see myself almost teaching this, and that was like the sort of realization for me, or like that aha moment of like, this isn't where you're supposed to be. So with Grace, I left the studio that I was teaching with, and they were awesome and actually supported everything that I had as a vision. And I met some really awesome people along the way, and we sort of had the same vision of, in the beginning, we wanted to use yoga and meditation as a gateway for young people to feel heard and seen, and to be able to listen in. And then it sort of skyrocketed from there, and now it's kind of shifted and developed its own sort of society.
Yeah. You mentioned the breath there, that hearing yourself breathe, and that seemed to be almost a very powerful moment, almost like one of those spiritual watershed moments for yourself. And that really stood out to me. I've been looking into trying to define what the difference between mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health is. And then looking into even like the origins of the word of spiritual, it's spiritus, which translates into breath mostly. Like there's some other things, connection and vigor, but breath is a big part of spiritual health. So that really jumped out to me when you said that there. And then you kind of mentioned it again as it being important for the youth, that you were leading to hear themselves breathe and take those moments to go inward, which is probably one of the major things that's missing as youth it's in our society are growing up. And I think maybe you'll have one day at school where they have some sort of a meditation day or something. But yeah, so you're filling a gap from what I can tell. That's something that's really missing is that inward, just being comfortable with your own breath. And when do we ever really do that or teach the youth to do that? So, yeah.
Is that what kind of drew you towards the youth? Like you mentioned, like you had this like drive to want to connect with people and to be a healer and that type of thing. Like what drove you more towards helping youth versus adults? Or
well, I'll backtrack. So for me growing up, my mom was a teenage single mom. So my mom had me when she was around 16 years old. And there was a lot of adults who played key roles in my life. And without those adults, who knows? I might not have gone to university. I might not have had the opportunities that were sort of laid out for me without healthy attachments. And we see so much in our society where youth are just kind of left based on their environment. So when I was growing up, my mom, now looking back, she was doing the best that she knew how to do. A lot of times wasn't what I needed in those sort of times, but there was adults in my life that helped fill those gaps. And I know now that it's very necessary that we are a community, and we are, like, everybody's our kids, and that we're filling the gaps for the parents who might not have the finances or the mental health or the accessibility to be able to provide the things that their kids might need. And that it was essential that we provide a place for young people to be seen and heard, and also to be key members in their community, and to have opportunities that, they're not getting at home, and that their family just needs a little bit of help. And we wanted to be that space.
Yeah. Like how important do you think that is for, like, I've taught martial arts for years and years, and so I can really kind of that resonates with me. I can really connect with that idea of like seeing kids who just need something else, right? Or need like a distraction, or that for me, like that male figure in their life sometimes. How important is that for kids to have that kind of mentor or mentors growing up? Because it's something that for me personally, like, I heard all my life, and even in my adult life, people were like, if you want to be successful in business, like you have to have a mentor and stuff like that. And I used to almost like look at it in a negative light of like, you don't need a mentor. But then when I looked back in my life, I'm like, I've had mentors in my life. I just didn't recognize it. How important do you think that is for kids and teens and even adults to like find those people in their lives that are mentors?
Oh, I think it's super important, whether it's a teacher or a coach or somebody that, a neighbor, anybody, a friend's parent. It's just very important that they have an outlet or a healthy attachment to somebody if it can't be their parents at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've mentioned the concept of healthy attachment. I think we all know perhaps intuitively what unhealthy attachment looks like, and we're engulfed by it these days with quick access to quick satisfying things that don't last and are detrimental. I think the social media, the junk food, all that stuff. But maybe healthy attachment is something that people aren't very familiar with, or it's not a concept that comes quite as easily. So would you be okay just helping us understand what healthy attachment means in opposition to like unhealthy attachments?
Yeah, healthy attachment for us, we define it as really an adult or somebody in your life who you can go to with anything.
Okay.
And somebody that you feel safe with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sure a lot of youth are missing that, right? And I don't know what the percentage is, but I'm sure it's larger than we'd like to think it is. Yeah.
Somebody who believes in you, or somebody that you feel believes in you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so easy for like, you kind of mentioned like even with your mom being, being quite young when she had you and that type of thing, like she was, like you said, trying her best and doing the best that she can, but still missing some pieces. I think a lot of parents can relate to that feeling regardless of like what their age is and all those things. Like we often feel like we're just like, man, I'm missing the mark here, I'm missing the mark there. There's really nothing wrong with trying to find support for that and putting your kids in sports and summer camps and stuff like that are really big ways for you to kind of fill those gaps. What are some of the things, as you mentioned, like things that we're missing in your life? What are some of the things that you notice that are maybe consistently missing in the lives of the youth and the teens that come in to see you guys?
The idea that we're only good if we are successful. And that we're only good if we are passing or achieving, and that we're only a good person in those sort of realms, and otherwise we're not good enough, or we're bad, or we don't deserve, or we're not worthy of if we're not showing up or giving to somebody else, or showing up in a way that's always like check, check, check. Mm-hmm. For us, we always say that, even if you fail a test, the only truth about that is that you maybe didn't prepare. You didn't know your information. You need more help. That's it. And you failed the test. That's it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you're bad. And all of a sudden, we have these young people showing up in this place of like, I'm not good enough. I don't deserve this. I'm unworthy of love because you didn't pass a test. And there's like a ripple effect that happens there. Yeah. So we really try to instill like, no, you're still a really good person, and good people make bad decisions. And it's what we do with those decisions after they've been made.
It's funny. I was just talking about this recently about how, like, I actually had the realization of like things like what I've even done as a parent of when my kids will bring a test home and, they got a good mark, but it was like maybe 15 out of 20 on their test. I'm like, our instinct is to go, well, what happened there? Like, why did you get those questions wrong? You didn't study enough? Like, you need to study more, that type of thing. And it instantly creates this negative association to the test. Whereas we could look at that in a different way. The way that I help my clients, and I know you help your clients, is like changing that perspective and going, okay, here's a great opportunity now for us to, and like, we've now narrowed down where we need more attention in this particular subject. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a great thing that you got these questions wrong, because now we can approach this and like spend a little bit more time. Now we have a kind of like a key to where we need to focus on, right? And just changing that perspective, oftentimes I've seen in my kids, and even is it changes the way that they look at themselves in that test. Now they're not like, oh, bad on me for getting 5 wrong. It's like, okay, good. Now we know where we need to focus. It's a different feeling around that test now, right?
We often ask, no matter what the score on the test is that you try your best, and are you being honest with yourself? And often it'll be yes or no. And even if it's a 95, did you try your best? They're like, what do you mean, did I try my best? I'm like, did you try your best? No. I'm like, well, why not?
Yeah.
Or yes, right? And then it could be, yeah, I tried my best, but I failed. It's like, okay, then we need to come up with a different, different study task, or whatever that looks like. Something's not working for you. You might need support in a different area, whatever that is, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's been all these markers that have been almost put in place for us as we grow up that says this is what worthiness is and this is what success is. And it's just, markers based off of one system. And what it does is it creates adults that feel that they're not good enough their entire life. And I work with those people, and it can be difficult to convince them that you actually get to set your own standards for what is good enough and feeling good. And I noticed that was bolded on the Orenda website about teaching kids that they are good enough. And so I thought, that was really important to start instilling that early on, because from what I've seen, it becomes problems for decades and later on in life. And so it sounds like you came up with a few strategies to help them, right? And so I'll just say kind of what I do, and then you can say what you do. So with the whole good enough, it's about first of all, reevaluating where your standards are and why they're even there in the first place, and then looking at ones that they're not even considering, and that they're doing great at in life, and they're a great, mother, father, husband, wife, this stuff, and they're not even considering any of that. So I kind of try to I guess that's the route I go for initially, but maybe share what you do when someone comes in and they think I'm not good enough.
We automatically say, why are you lying to yourself?
Yeah.
So there's this whole method about your limiting belief, and we really start to talk early on to the kids that come into our programs about their limiting belief, where they got it from, and that it wasn't theirs to take, but they took it anyway. And we know that your limiting beliefs starts around the age of 8, and then it sneaks up again by 14, and then you're definitely pretty damn sure that that's your limiting belief by the time you're 14, because your subconscious has told you that over and over and over again. There's all of these validation lies,
right, that
have reiterated that, oh, there it is again, that must be true. Oh, there it is again, it must be true. So we have a method of unpacking what your limiting belief is, where it came from, not blaming anybody, because typically it was given to you in a sort of offset way, not blaming anybody, but then taking ownership of that, and then we turn it around and of who you really are. And we do lots of different things. Sometimes we shout out, we yell at the top of our lungs in different expression work. We do lots and lots of expression work in our studio. We look in mirrors and yell that we love ourselves. We tell each other that we love ourselves, all of those sort of things. We scream at the top of our lungs. We beat things.
Wow, I love it.
So we beat out the lie, even into different methods that we use as well, so that it doesn't need to be there. It's going to be there. And it's having that, those tools and that awareness that, oh, there it is. I have the confidence, and I'm worthy of switching that to the truth. And the truth is that I am more than good enough. I'm great. I'm powerful beyond measures. I'm confident. I'm loving. I'm whatever it is that, resonates with that youth.
And I'm sure once they get to that point, there's a huge emotional release as well. Once you can go from the fear mindset into love, it's a huge change. And
yeah, it's amazing. It's especially in our intensive programs, when you just see somebody's eyes or their face glow differently than when they came in. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that is one of the cognitive magic tricks that exists in the world, is to find that core limiting belief, where it comes from, and then challenge it. That's pretty amazing thing to do.
It's an interesting idea of I don't think a lot of people think about it that way, where you're imagining your beliefs that you have, like all beliefs, whether it's religious beliefs, whether it's personal beliefs, those are beliefs that were given to you from somewhere, right? Like those, they weren't just beliefs that were just like born in you. Those beliefs were given to you. Like we developed those beliefs along the way from other people in our lives. And, you know, having those different beliefs, how much like resistance do you see with kids, especially, but also teens who have been living with these beliefs for so long? Do like when you walk in and say like something like you are enough, are they just giving you looks like, what does that even mean? I don't understand what that even means.
Yeah. At first, there's sort of this blank stare, like this is, pardon me, but this is bullshit.
Yeah.
But then something happens, and whether they're in a yoga practice and there's like a moment for them where they've had a moment of release, or they've journaled a little bit about it, or done some sort of expression work, and they have those moments of, it's not like this one giant, well, in an intensive, sometimes there is one giant moment, but there's all these little moments, and you start to love those moments, those pauses away from that limiting belief, or the way that you're operating now, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the older kids. I mean, the younger youth that we see, most of them are just like, yes, they want it. They're all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious where like, and you might not have the answer to this, but like where the resistance from parents comes from as well. Because I see it a lot with parents of like, even in martial arts with competition. And like, I want to see those kids compete because I know the value in it, and like what the self-growth that they're going to get from it, and those types of things. But a lot of times the parents are like, well, they're not ready yet, or well, like, I don't want them to go and, you know, get hurt, or I don't want them to go. Like, there's a lot of like protection from parents to that. And I think there is in the sense of self-discovery with kids too. They're like, I don't want to overwhelm them. I don't want them to like, I don't want to pressure them to like do all this self-exploration, that type of thing. Do you notice that as well? And do you have any guesses onto like why we as parents are so protective of that?
I think it's fear-based.
Yeah.
It's based on our own past experiences that we're bringing forward most of the time, and fear of failure. We don't want our kids to fail or be upset or any of those sort of things, but it's an essential part of our journey.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice it as well with like, even with your guys' programs? Like, do you notice there's a resistance there sometimes with parents of like, yeah, don't get too emotional with them, or like those types of things?
Or a lot of times parents will ask me, what are the topics? And I always say these are topics that your son or daughter are going to be exposed to, but in this environment, they get a healthy exposure. And if something is, you know, if we feel like we get really deep into something and it might be questionable, then we always email, or we have like a parent meeting, or whatever that looks like. But absolutely, we have a lot of questions, and I do feel like the kids who come into our program with the most success are the parents who are like, they're just a support for their kids, and they know that they need something else.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, you guys have done such an amazing job with your branding, and I think that resonates when you go and you visit the Orenda Society and you see the teens and the youth that are there. You can see that like a lot of them are there. Like, it's people who are willing to do that, right? And that, I think that speaks to your guys' branding a lot too. So
thanks.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And speaking of branding, the symbolism of the triangle pointed up is also on purpose too, right? It's almost like the ascension, spiritual and emotional. And
yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I noticed that so you hold a few titles and labels, and one of them that made you unique was activator.
Yeah, activator. What is an activator?
Right.
Do you know?
I wonder if it was the only other time I've really seen that was those personality tests that you can take, and those INFJ and all that stuff. And I saw it pop up there once because I think it came up for me too. But yeah, I mean, is that just something that they bestowed onto you, or is that something that, like, an activator, is that something that you hold near and dear to you as something that you do?
I think it was bestowed onto me, but I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I am an activator. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that exactly, but energetically, I feel like I'm like always like, let's go, you can do this. And I'm sort of always on the go.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is an activator?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it really speaks to what you touched on, of like just trying to like activate that side of people, of like opening your mind up to new beliefs about yourself, new beliefs about the world. And I always think anytime I'm working with a client or working with a student in martial arts, you recognize those limiting beliefs, I always just remember I watched like the Cosmos. I remember I watched it with my daughter one year when I think it was during the pandemic or something, but I just remember like this pattern coming up of us being wrong, always being wrong in society. Like we thought this, and then we were proven wrong. We thought this, and then we were proven wrong. Like, time and time again, we've pretty much been wrong about everything in society. And I always remember that for myself as well, but also when I'm working with people of, what if you're wrong? Like, let's just imagine for a moment that you're wrong, because you probably are. What else like might this look like for you? Like what's another story that you could tell yourself that would change maybe how you act tomorrow, right? And to me that really resonated in like hearing like the activator, right? It's like activating that side in somebody.
Yeah, I think for me, I always say, all right, consider that this might not be working for you.
Like what they're doing already kind of thing.
Yeah. And sometimes that can be, especially with the teens, that can be a really challenging conversation and growth place, because a lot of times it can feel lonely when considering that something's not working for you, or you haven't established healthy boundaries, or that you might need some different friends in this time of your life, because your friends might be really good people, but the decisions that they're making are influencing your decisions and all of those sort of things. So yeah, we always say, consider that this might not be working for you. Yeah.
And is that a common thing? That I imagine it would be, but is that a common thing that comes up with, especially with teens, where you're looking at realizations of the crowds that they're spending their time with, and maybe it's not as conducive to who they actually want to be, or who they've discovered that they want to be through the program?
Especially if they haven't found their worth or confidence, because it's in there, they just aren't using it. Especially in those times, that can be very challenging. A lot of the youth who are really invested in their growth and are operating from a place of worth and confidence, that can be very easy for them to be out with friends and say no, and just still enjoy their friends' company and be like, well, just kind of separate themselves and have those boundaries. But for those of us who feel that we need to be, in the crowd, or that we really want other people's validation, or want to be seen and heard, and we're not getting that anywhere else in our life, yeah, really, really challenging to create healthy boundaries and to say no.
Yeah. And that concept of being seen and heard, that's something that's been coming up and seems to be very powerful, and a central focus of part of the overall holistic treatment plan for the youth. And so let's touch on that a little bit, what that means, because, and especially for a young person to be seen and heard, because I imagine that in certain cases it's because they're not really getting it anywhere else for various reasons. And so that's kind of a gap that you're filling as well?
Yeah, that's one of our biggest gaps, I feel, is to allow the teens and the kids coming into our programming to feel seen and heard. I think that it's a really important concept, and it's really important that we see and hear our kids, because even though, like, I have 3 kids, and even though I try my very best to see and hear them, I definitely fall short, because I'm really full on loving them, supporting them, putting a roof over their head, making sure that our finances are okay, making sure that, they're getting to where they need to be. So sometimes those moments of when they really need to be seen and heard are missed. Also, where, I'm in my head a little bit. A lot. we have our own stuff that we're going through as well. So sometimes we miss that mark on seeing and hearing our kids. So if somebody else can do that for us once in a while, or just or even another peer that just is seeing and hearing them, it's really an important part of just being a human. That sense of being seen and heard is one of the 5 fundamental needs as a human being. So
Yeah, and the consequences of not being seen or heard, I imagine, is acting out maybe violently sometimes, and or even self-harm or something like that. I think it probably, if anyone's wondering, well, why is it important just to see and hear somebody? It's like, because you have to look at what are the consequences if someone doesn't feel like they're heard for a long time. I think things get really, really bad and really negative. So you said the 5 fundamental. Let us have it. What, like, being seen and heard is
seen, heard, safety, belonging, and love.
Yeah. And that concept of love too. I imagine there's some resistance in teens, probably especially male teens, because I remember even and I was well into my adulthood, being in school, and we were in health psychology. And our professor encouraged us to try looking in the mirror and say, I love you. And it was a very, very difficult, surreal, and I did it like home alone, but it felt so strange and so foreign to me.
Isn't it strange? Like we're supposed to know ourselves the best and be the most comfortable with our own self, but yet this is an exercise that we do as well. But yet when we're alone with ourselves, looking at ourselves, it's so awkward and uncomfortable. Like, why is that?
I think because we've been made to believe that equals like ego, and like self-love has almost been shaped as like a negative thing over time, especially for, I shouldn't say especially for men, but in terms of like masculinity. And that's almost it's almost looked at as being more of like a feminine trait of like self-love, right? So I can only speak to, being a male, but that, I think that plays into it a lot. Is like, well, I just need to be tough. I need to be brute. I need to be, I don't need to love myself. I just need to, do what I need to do.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Yeah.
I needed a whole float tank experience to bring out self-love.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It kind of relates, but it's taking almost a step back to something you were talking about before of like being a parent, being in your own head. I think that's where we miss things a lot, is when you're being a parent is such a mind bend. Like I always say, being a parent teaches you more about yourself than anything else in life. And part of the reason is because you're seeing things in your kids that reflect who you are. And so you're constantly like second guessing your actions through your kids. And
100%.
it's such a difficult thing. And it's like, well, if my kids need more emotional support, then what does that mean about me? And like stuff like that. Or sometimes my kids will say something back to me and I'm like, geez, that sounds like me. And I don't like the way it sounds. Like, I think that's a big part of where we miss the mark as parents sometimes. And that's okay. Like, it's okay as long as you're continually trying to, I guess, be better and that type of thing.
I do try to ask myself, what did I need when I was younger in this situation? It comes up a lot. We, a few weeks before school ended, my middle son, Cruz, he had a really bad headache at school, and he called me, and that's a very rare thing for him. He loves being at school. He's a very social kid, and he called me to pick him up, and he was in tears. He was really upset about coming home. And I was like, yeah, of course. And I got to the school and he was still in tears, and his teacher's like, he's very emotional about coming home and missing school today. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So we got in the car and he was so upset. And I said, what is making you feel this way? And he said, I'm disappointing you. And I'm like, how are you disappointing me? He's like, well, you had to leave work. I'm like, oh, I chose you. I can leave work anytime. And he's like, okay. So the next disappointment was, well, I'm letting my soccer team down because I'm not feeling well tonight. And I should be going. I said, no, you're showing up because you're going to take rest. And if you went on the field and took somebody else's spot while you weren't feeling good. So I had to literally pull the car over and tell him that I was proud of him for listening to his body. And the whole time he's like, you're proud of me for doing nothing? I'm like, yes. And then the whole time I'm like, okay, Jamie,
yeah,
this is you.
Learning moment. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really resonate with that too. It's like catch myself all the time with hearing my kids like, or even just like noticing that they're upset, like, and like, or you get mad at them for something like, why didn't you pick up the laundry like I asked you to and stuff? And you can see in their eyes, it's like, they're not upset that you're upset. They're upset that they like let you down. And you're like, that as a parent just like kills you, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, what have I done? Like, but it's just our nature, right? It's how we were raised as well. Most likely is like our parents were also stressed and they were also like pressed for time and you know, just trying to get things done. And when you're a high performing person, then that does kind of have a trickle effect on your kids, and you have to create that awareness, right?
Exactly.
In regards to the society and everything that they offer, there's summer programs going on right now. There's things inside, there's things outside, there's group activities, there's mentorship, one-on-one and things like that. Are you involved a little bit in everything, or do you gravitate towards certain programs? And
My toes and everything.
Yeah.
No, not. I teach mostly. I would say my mentorships and my facilitation is mostly with the teenagers now and women, and summer camps as well, and then retreats. So, and then the younger girls, we have another teacher. She's amazing, Lisa McManus, and she's also our community director. So she does a lot of that sort of stuff. And then we just have a lot of other support. So we just we're really excited. We have a boys teacher that came on board just to teach the younger boys, and he's 17 and he's huge community builder. So we're excited to have him on board.
Nice.
It's a little bit of everything, but I'm trying to, loosen that control and those reins and start to give more opportunity to other people in community who are going to do an amazing job teaching this program as well. We're going to be doing a teacher training in the spring, so that's going to help the flow of the work and as we grow. Yeah,
because you find you are growing, and so there's the need to bring more people on board and get them trained, and
yes,
that's great.
Yeah, wow. It's really exciting.
Yeah. And where can people go to check out all the information programs, the website? And
our website, www.orendasociety.ca, and Instagram, the Orenda Society.
Okay.
Yeah, two basic platforms.
Yeah. Do you use music therapy as part of the programs?
It's fun. Well, not really, but I would love to do that. We've talked about bringing in some DJs.
Oh yeah.
And we thought that would be really neat, but and we dance a lot.
Yeah.
But nothing with instruments.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been part of like drum circle groups before that meet weekly and things like that. And
that's a lie. We have done
some
drumming.
Yeah.
We have. We do our annual. We haven't done it since pre-COVID. It's coming back, but we do like our annual Move Your Mood Boys Summit, and one of the secret weapons of the day was nobody knew, but we had a drum circle and all the drums come in, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, that can be really powerful. And if anyone haven't been to one, it's more than just drumming. The one that I used to go to, and I think I've even seen this across a few different circles. There's a moment there where they bring the lights down and we just pound on the drums and just yell and just release. And being in a church or some sort of a nice acoustic room with a bunch of people banging on drums and yelling is a pretty interesting experience. And I've found a lot of great release from that. And then another cool thing that you can do is have people lie down on the ground and get the hand drums and kind of drum head to toe around them. And so you have people lying on the ground, and you have people with drums, and you're kind of going and just making sure that they're getting the vibrations nice and close. Then you kind of switch off. So yeah, I was just curious because it seems like something that you would incorporate, which you have. But
I love that. Something that we just started incorporating a lot too was some really good friends of mine are Indigenous dancers. So we've been bringing in more Indigenous culture into our society, and that is such a great collaboration and partnership, just bringing in that sort of Indigenous eye on the healing. Yeah. So lots of drumming and dancing and expression work that way.
Yeah.
You mentioned dancing a few times, and it reminds me of something I wanted to touch on with you, because I know it's a real core of what you guys do is movement, right? And making movement a part of healing. Can you speak to that a little bit on like what role movement plays in the healing of just humans?
Oh, yes. Well, in our society, we use all different types of movement. One of the core movements being yoga. And yoga was never, well, it was at one point, but for us, it was never really about how it looked. It was only about how it felt. So we always say, move the way you want to feel. So if you're looking for power today and you need energy, then you're going to move with a lot of strength and a lot of power in your practice. If you need grace and ease, then you might close your eyes and you might sway from side to side and bring that gentle movement into your practice with whatever guidance you're given. So we are only your guide. The rest is up to you. So we use really yoga as a gateway to feel. And all of the answers we have are inside of us. All of the things we need are inside of us. We just haven't tapped into them. And we just haven't looked close enough at them and asked ourselves those questions. So we use movement as a gateway really to feel. And then we do other movement like runs and sprints and all of those sort of stuff to shift, the negative energy that we might be feeling, or anxiety, or something that is really hard to move through our bodies. So we'll do rapid movements. We do some other sort of movements where it's like big, just different expression movement with big arms and breath work and breath of joy and all of those sort of things. Yeah.
I find movement to be such a powerful tool as well, especially with the younger generation of just, I mean, there's so many different things. It's obviously it's healthy physically for you, but also mentally and emotionally, like moving your body in ways to create intuitiveness, like what you were just touching on, but also showing like confidence of like, oh, I didn't actually know that I could move like that, right? Like the thing that pops in my mind is like somebody doing a backflip for the first time or something. It's like, I didn't know I could do that with my body, but it is possible, right? It's like constantly proving to yourself these different things, or maybe it's just stepping outside your shell. Like maybe it's waving your arms up in the air and like, or acting like an animal or something. And these things that we do as kids, but then when we forget how good that feels to just play with our body, like and
we forget that we can take up space, right? We are so hunched in and our arms are closed in, and we forget that we are allowed to take up space and we're allowed to be big,
and we were made to move too, like and that's something that I think we forget, especially in this generation. You kind of touched on this fast-paced generation earlier, but also with kids who are playing video games a lot more and on phones and tablets, and it's very technology based. Like our society is very much pushing us towards non-movement. So it's so important to have these outlets like what you guys are doing to create that movement and to help, I think, people remember how good it feels to move, right?
I agree.
I like that, the move how you feel concept, so that it's fluid and it can change, and
it's up to you.
And then so if you're in a group setting with a bunch of teens and youth, do you kind of give them direction? If you're feeling like this, do this. If you're feeling like this, do this. And they have maybe 4 different or several different options of emotions that they're feeling, and then a corresponding movement. And then do you just let them do it?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's exactly how it goes. So, if we were doing a yoga pose, we would say, bring your arms up towards the ceiling with strong arms and powerful pose, lift the chest. But if you're feeling, tired today, or you feel a little bit stressed, we don't want to bring your cortisol up. So you want to still find rest. So it's like bow your head, let your chin tuck and just curl into your body and give in a little bit. So yeah,
I really like that. Because when it comes to something like stress, it could be because you're so wound up, or it could be because you don't have any energy left or something like that. And that's why it has to be approached more individually, especially when considering cortisol, because it can either be high, or it can be like low kind of thing,
And that's a big misconception that we have in our society, is that when we're stressed, anything fast paced can still release our stress, but stress is stress. Our body doesn't distinguish between good stress or bad stress. So if you're really stressed, maybe you need a yin practice, not a hit practice.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit on this podcast too. It's just like stress is stress. Your body doesn't know the difference, and people need to recognize, like, the example that I'll often give people is if you're like a construction worker or you work landscaping and your body has been stressed to the max all day, and then your friend tells you like, oh, you need a workout that'll release your stress. It's like that might actually not be the best form of like countering stress with stress in that way, because your body's just going to pile up on stress. They might actually benefit more from just like relaxing or like doing a meditation or getting a massage or something like that, right? That will probably benefit them a lot more in that moment, and then make them able to go and use that other tool for stress, right? Yeah.
And you have training with hands-on work as well? Do you have training within massage?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been a registered massage therapist for about 13 years now.
Yeah. Does that, is there crossover there with people that you work with? You're getting to do different exercises in yoga, and then do you also get to incorporate physical touch and healing?
Oh, yeah.
As well? Yeah, so that this is all part of it.
Like COVID definitely cramped my style for a bit
Yeah.
there. But
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, always, especially in our yoga practice, as long as they feel comfortable being touched, we often have like little cards on the mat that says yes or no. So if they're face up, or we just remember.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll do a lot of different adjustments, but not adjustments to make the pose deeper, adjustments to make you feel better.
Okay. Do you find that those who start with side down, no touching, do they sometimes kind of come around and accept it later down the line?
By the end of the class, always.
Oh, yeah.
Because we give these amazing head and face massages.
Oh, yeah.
So
that'll do it.
So they can hear everybody else being like, can you do that again?
Oh, yeah.
Will you do that again? Yeah. And then the
word of mouth, baby.
The card flips up.
Yeah, the head massage made popular by hairstylists everywhere.
That's right.
Yeah.
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 No, that's super cool. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a powerful one. Yeah, that's something that impacted my practice too, and I'm finding it's hard to go back into the physical touch realm actually after having not done a lot of virtual and not done that for a couple of years. And I think that probably my patients haven't been getting that holistic care that they're looking for, because from the studies that I've looked at, there's some really interesting ones even around like addiction recovery and trauma recovery and things like that. Massage therapy has actually really great evidence as one of those adjunctive therapies to add into the whole treatment plan for something like like addiction recovery. And I just thought that was it, like, it intuitively, but it's just nice to see it in writing that physical touch can help.
It calms your nervous system.
Yeah.
After the initial fact.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think we as practitioners kind of know it intuitively, but I don't think a lot of people actually recognize that importance. We recognize it like with significant others and stuff like that, or maybe if that's like, if you were to get into like the love languages, that type of thing, some people are more physical touch, that type of thing. But I don't know that it's necessarily intuitive to, the construction worker who's, coming off his shift. And I don't know how many guys I've met who work on the oil field or something who are like, I don't get massage. I don't want people to touch me. That's weird. Right. But then when they finally do, they're like, how have I not done this for my entire life? Right.
Yeah. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. And it might cultivate on a certain level some of those core 5 that you talked about. It might elicit feelings of safety, maybe even belonging, things like that. So yeah.
You guys also do work with adults as well. I know you guys have like a women's retreat that's coming up soon. Yeah. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
A few years ago, well, we always hear a lot of our parents and specifically the moms say, when can we do this? When do we get to do this? Everything you're doing, we want to do. And so we started kind of on a whim. We called it Orenda Women's Part 1. And we started doing these part series. So to graduate to Part 2, you had to complete Part 1. And, you know, I was super surprised that these classes were selling out and all these women were coming, and they weren't just the moms, they weren't only the moms from our programming, but they were women just in general that wanted to be part of a community and a like-minded community of connection, and where they felt safe and heard, or whatever maybe they needed to. They had this opportunity to drop their roles and responsibilities for an hour and a half every week and just land into the work. And that's what we were providing. So it's sort of just started snowballing, and, you know, we've had 40 to 60 women in the last, even, you know, through COVID, we tried to manage different groups in different settings and all of that sort of stuff come through our doors. So we kept thinking, okay, for part 3 or just in general, we really need to do like this intensive, like this retreat. And we just said, okay, time is now. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, we just launched it last week, and it's already halfway sold out. And
amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Good
Every
for you
time
guys.
someone registers, I like start crying. I'm like, I can't believe it's happening.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what's wrong? I'm like, no, I'm happy.
Yeah, happy tears.
Yeah.
That's
It's pretty
awesome.
cool to have a community that trusts what you're offering.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I imagine that's almost therapeutic for yourself as well to, you know, you're creating this group, you're leading this group, but also you're a part of that group as well. And I imagine that's a pretty cool thing too.
Yeah, it is. And it definitely makes you check in on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like, okay, you got some work to do too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's always good incentive, is the people that you're mentoring and working with, or patients or whatever. It's like, it's good incentive to make sure that you're trying to walk the same path that you're suggesting that they walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay. Like, I slip up from time to time, but then I try to get back on. Like by Monday morning, it's like, okay, now you're doing your morning meditation again. You're doing this and that.
Yeah.
I always say to my fitness nutrition clients and also to my martial arts students, I'm like, you guys motivate me more than anything else to like keep going and stuff. And even with martial arts and seeing, you know, even last night at my boot camp, there's we have a gentleman who started Kung Fu this year for the first time. And we went around the group. We always do like a little group chat at the end of our boot camps. And we went around and I said, what's one thing that you have done in your life that you didn't think you could do, but then you did it? And that was what he said. He's like, I never thought that I could ever do martial arts, but it's always something I wanted to do. He said, it's the best thing I've done in my entire life. Just doing it and showing that I could do it and doing something for me and moving my body in a way that felt fun and that type of thing. And it's such an important thing for people to just, you know, step outside and do it. So if you're listening to this and anything resonated with you of what we've been talking about, if you're a woman, then make sure to definitely go and check out the Orenda Society, check out that intensive that's coming up for women specifically. Or if you have youth or teens that you feel might benefit from it, which they will, then definitely check them out.
Yeah, check them out online. Check them out on Instagram. What's the age range that you tend to work with at the studio?
Yeah, it's 8 to 18.
8 to 18.
And they're just grouped in like specific age categories that's relevant to their ages.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Well,
is there anything that's been left unsaid before we sign off?
I don't think so.
No?
Yeah, I think it's awesome. Thank you for having me.
No. Our pleasure. Yeah, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, it was fun.
We really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your story, and thanks for sharing more about the Orenda Society, and we'll definitely check them out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. And if there's anything, happening in the future and you want to come back, please come back and let us know, and we can even get more into the nuts and bolts about some of the programs. But
I'm trying to get Kyle on board, so hopefully we'll be back talking about what Kyle's doing.
Yeah, there's ideas churning, so even more so after this conversation, so I'm excited.
Awesome.
The start of a wonderful relationship.
That's right.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Wellness Dojo podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
For additional support or to work with one of us one-on-one, go to our website, www.wellnessdojo.ca. You can also find us on Instagram at Wellness Dojo YYC, or on all other social media platforms searching The Wellness Dojo. We'll see you in the next episode.